Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are, ladies, gentlemen, whoever you are, and welcome once again to Nerd Week Live here on all sorts of platforms. I was going to say here on YouTube, but we're now multicasting here on YouTube, here on Twitch, here on Facebook Live. I am Rodney Brown. I'm the editor-in-chief of Nerd Caliber, first-person shooter as a cosplay photographer on the Facebooks, one of the platforms we're streaming to live. And joining me tonight is, we're going to have to go with the wig first. Assuming that is a wig, introduce yourself, bewigged person.
Rookie mistake, forgot to mute my YouTube channel there. Hi everybody, Greg, aka Wonder Llama, associate editor here at Nerd Caliber. It is the last night of June. It is technically the last night of Pride Month. So yes, it is a wig. I'd love to say that I had this much hair in the first place, and if I did, it probably would be this color. A little less shiny, probably. But yeah, we've been doing some cool Pride stuff every show this month. We got a few things queued up for you towards the end. Hopefully you guys are, guys, girls, we use guys as a collective now. We probably shouldn't do that so much. Hopefully everyone out there is celebrating Pride in their own way, since we're not going to any parades or marches this year. Looking forward to some good stuff tonight.
Cool. And wearing the spectacular hat, introduce yourself if you would.
Hello, I'm Gogo Incognito with the cephalopod hat. I hope that registered because it felt really cool. Anyway, hi, I'm Gogo Incognito. I'm a long-time Nerd Caliber contributor, video hostess, writer, etc., etc. You can find me online by just remembering that Gogo Incognito rhymes. So basically you just type that in, Gogo Incognito, and you will find me online. I do fun things. Also, very Pride, very BLM, very Trans Lives Matter. Also, I do want to shout myself out for something that I don't usually do, but I just want to say I made gummy bears this week.
You made gummy bears. You know you can buy those.
I know, but quarantine takes you in strange places.
True.
And
true.
They were legal gummy bears. I'm just
Are
saying.
they
Everyone asked
risky
if
gummy
they were illegal gummy bears, and I'm like, no, I would never.
Well, good to know, and I hope they were as delicious as they sound. So welcome everybody to the chats. We got a bunch of people already on YouTube. Lilac Lizzie, hello. Santiago Nunez, hello. Via Heart, hello. Yukichu, hello. Akane Mikoto, hello. Karen Rusik, hello. Jay Forrest, hello. Who am I missing? We got a bunch of people up here who are no longer with us. Wolfgirl 10, hello, if you're still on there. And I think, Mylea Brown, no, that was one of the ones I booted, so never mind. And yeah, I started off before the show booting some people. One of the things that we'll not tolerate here is any sort of signaling to the kind of people who appreciate the autism screech sound. That goes. So if you're wondering why some people, Covey, Popcorn, Yukachu, I do remember you. Welcome back to the show. All right. We have a lot of deep subjects as we get further into the show. So we're going to jump right into it. And we're probably going to hit some of these first items pretty quickly and then move on through. Although it's going to be tough to go quickly with this one. That's Carl Reiner, folks. That's Carl Reiner from Ocean's 13. He was in the Ocean's movies, if you don't remember that. Carl Reiner is an absolute comic genius. Father of the comic genius and director Rob Reiner. Best buddy and collaborator with Mel Brooks. It's really hard to describe for people who are not my age the impact that Carl Reiner had on American comedy from the 1950s forward. And he passed away today. Sadly, 98 years old. Wow.
Well done, sir. Well done.
And Monday night, according to the news thing, he died last night at his home in Beverly Hills. he was tweeting right up to 3 days before he died. So he's a tough guy, smart guy, and super funny. I can't think of. There's so many things I could recommend that you watch.
I'm just gonna say, I mean, I grew up. One of my mom's favorite movies was All of Me with Steve Martin.
Oh yeah.
And I grew up with that. It's also the reason why we had like singing bowls in the house for a while.
Wow.
And literally for any ages, just go ahead and Google Carl Reiner. You're gonna find stuff that you've seen, you've nostalgia did like in TV and movies and screenwriting and everything, and you're gonna be like, oh, that guy. He was so good. So go ahead and let's do that for Carl Reiner. He was so good.
He was.
He was indeed.
Greg,
Yeah,
any favorite moments?
I mean, it's hard to pick one. I'm looking through his IMDb, and it's amazing how many things you would not have remembered he's in.
Like, there's so much.
Bob's Burgers, 2.5 Men, Parks and Rec, Cleveland Show, all the Ocean series, all the Dick Van Dyke stuff, Ally McBeal.
Oh yes,
you name it.
I forgot about
all
that one.
And there's something
King of the
again.
Hill.
I don't know this.
He was in Duckman. I forgot all about that. He was in.
He was in
Duckman.
Oh,
He was in Duckman.
I don't know what that is.
Look that cartoon
we'll
up,
have to talk
Go-Go.
about that later. That's woo.
Yeah.
History of the World, Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, The Jerk. I mean, the list goes on and on. I guess I'll date myself as well here. I'm old enough that I grew up with my dad in particular playing the 2,000-Year-Old Man on record, if you can believe that, and old black and white stuff. For anybody that's never seen it, just very briefly, it's old vaudeville type stuff. Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner, a couple of Jewish comedians from New York. Carl Reiner plays the straight man. He does an interview, and he's interviewing somebody who's 2,000 years old, Mel Brooks, who's been around since before Jesus. And it's ridiculous. It's silly. It makes no sense. It's just a couple of guys goofing around. But as like a 10-year-old kid who didn't know much about other Jews out there doing stuff, I absolutely loved it. So anything you can find, if you're a fan of Mel Brooks, any of his movies, the two of them were thick as thieves. And if you've ever seen the classic When Harry Met Sally, I'm sure you remember, like everyone does, the classic diner scene that ends with the punchline, "I'll have what she's having," who was Carl Reiner's wife, Rob Reiner's mother.
That's right.
Who got to say, the immortal bit about, if you think your job as a director is tough, try directing your own mother in an orgasm scene.
So remember, short, but also I will recommend this to anybody who hasn't seen it. The first thing I ever saw Carl Reiner in was a movie from the mid-'60s called The Russians Are Coming, The Russians Are Coming. And if you live anywhere near where Greg and I do, somewhere here in the Northeast, you've got to go watch it, because a Russian submarine accidentally gets stuck just off of Gloucester, Massachusetts. And the Russian commander, reading the sign saying, "We are in Gloucester Harbor," it's hilarious. It's slapstick, funny, timely now, but anyway, Russians Are Coming, The Russians Are Coming. Check that out. Yukicho, yes, Cleveland was from The Family Guy and got a spinoff. So,
yep.
And some of the people doing voices in there we'll be talking about later on.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
If you want another crazy movie that you may not have seen, if you're a Steve Martin fan, if you haven't seen Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, it probably won't make a lot of sense if you're not a fan of old movies, because it's all just cut with old movies, like snipped together to make a movie. But Carl Reiner is in it. He's funny as hell. He co-wrote it. And if all you know from Steve Martin is, The Jerk.
I think he directed it too, didn't he?
Yes, writer director.
Yep.
Also, just today, I was walking on my treadmill and I was watching a new Netflix show, newish, called, Kipo and the Age of Wonder Beasts. And there is an episode that absolutely alludes to this. It says, cats do wear plaid. So this is the thing, is that even for younger generations, this is something that is going to be evidenced. This is just part of our pop culture history. And so we recommend that y'all get to know it.
Excellent. All right, moving on to our next topic. And R.I.P. Carl Reiner, you will be missed. So if you're a fan at all of The Boys, the hyper-violent, hyper-extreme show that's on Amazon based on the even more hyper-violent, more hyper-extreme comic book series by Garth Ennis and others. Season 2 trailer dropped just this past week. And in fact, they did it in a weird way. They actually did this long interview with the cast that runs for like almost an hour. And in the last few minutes of it, they play not the trailer, but the first 3 minutes of the movie, which is what this scene is from. And that is the brand new character Stormfront. Not going to give away anything, and I'm actually kind of relieved Lewis isn't on, because he would go in depth about Stormfront and just drop all kinds of spoilers. But I can say Stormfront 1 is gender swapped from the comic book. Stormfront is a male character in the comic book, and 2 is really, really important in at least the upcoming season, if not beyond that. So if you're a fan, check out the trailer. Check out the 3-minute first 3 minutes of the first episode. The trailer is completely different. The trailer is, stupidly violent. It's like amazingly, for this show, which is amazingly violent, it starts right out with letting you know that they aren't changing anything about the level of violence in the upcoming season.
Yeah.
So
I don't. So I actually have never read. I've never read these. I'm just a fan from TV series. The Stormfront, just the clip just came up on my screen now. The screen grab from the season 2 trailer. She is. I was going to make a really bad storming onto the set joke.
You just did, though. You just did.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Just from like the minute and a half of screen time, just 3 thumbs up, 4 thumbs up.
Yep, it's really awesome. September 4th is when the season drops, so we don't have to wait that long. And I'm trying to remember the actress's name. It's Aya something.
Let me take a look.
That plays Stormfront, and it's not in this article. It must have been in a different one I was reading. Yeah, no, I don't have it here. But yeah, now we can't recommend this to anybody who's not over 18. Sex, drugs, and
With
violence.
A very strong constitution.
With a very strong constitution. And anybody who gets triggered by any kind of violence, because literally every kind of violence against any kind of person you can think of is in this show, or at least was in the first season.
Yep, I tapped out.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's understandable. If you don't want to see the comeuppance after, the various violent assaults and attacks, then that's absolutely fine, because getting through those violent assaults and attacks is pretty tough.
Yep. Yeah, husband was like, "No, you're gonna love this," and I'm like, but I can't. Nope.
Yeah, there's a lot of nope for people out there on this one.
It is a
Yeah,
lot.
no, and I know it's coming back, and I'm glad it's coming back. I don't have anything against it. It just was a little too visceral for me, personally.
Yep. Yeah, and I know a lot of people like that, and absolutely, I understand it. There's not while I love the narrative and what it's telling about superhero culture and so on in general, there isn't anything in here that hasn't been said in less violent ways in other things. So it doesn't. You don't need to watch this to get some sort of super important message you can't get somewhere else. Having said that, they do an excellent job of both portraying that message and portraying it in the hyper-realistic way that kind of violence would happen. But let's go to a palate cleanser.
No, you're coming to my thing.
Do you believe it? Actually, we talked about this when they first announced it just a little bit way back when, but now we know when we get to see the Muppets on TV again. And that is the end of July 31st. It will start streaming Muppets Now on Disney+. So TV-ish. Looks like Gogo is really pleased by this news.
I am super pleased by this news. I grew up with the Muppets. It's my actual first remembrance of like being a little kid, and like my parents used to do like the Super 8 home movies of me watching it. Also, watching the Muppets and knowing they were doing a show is what catapulted me at a very young age to be like, I'm going to be a performer. What's super exciting about this, which y'all may not have seen, is that it's going to be unscripted. So it's going to be something different, and it's going to be something exciting. And of course they're going to have celebrity guests. It's what they always do. The only bummer that I see, because I think it's going to be excellent, and I know when they do unscripted stuff, they're going to record like 3 or 4 times as much as they need, and they're going to edit down and give us the best. So it's going to be good. I know it's going to be good. But listen, y'all, if you're excited as I am, no, we only get 6 episodes. So if we like it, we have to tell them that we like it. But I cannot wait.
And if anybody out there has ever seen the fantastic outtakes from Emmett Otter's Jug Band special, yes. If you don't think that these guys know how to do stuff like that off the cuff, ad-libbing, just it's amazing. It's some of the funniest stuff that never and would never make it into a Muppet show. Oh, it's wonderful.
There are ways you can go onto the internet and look at all the places that like Muppets have shown up on, like Oprah or Ellen or different places, and you can look at the outtakes, and it's not what you'd expect, but it's hilarious. This is going to be so good. I bet my bottom dollar on it for sure.
Excellent.
Well, I think after how amazing Dark Crystal was, it's clear that the Henson Company has their mojo. This is not just a tepid reboot trying to cash in on something. Hopefully not. I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be rock solid. And it's great that it's going to kind of not exactly be that old time variety show that the Muppets show. Was that ABC once upon a time? Was that on ABC, I want to say? Whatever it was.
I don't remember.
It was very much a variety show where you saw behind the stage, the actors in their dressing room doing makeup and all the different bits that they did. Speaking, Carl Reiner was on the Muppet Show, as was Steve Martin. I'm hoping that it's got a little bit of that same kind of irreverent, breaking the fourth wall flavor that the original Muppet Show variety show had. Look, I'm going to be working from home through the end of this year, so anything new and interesting and watchable, sign me up.
Exactly. Got to get us all through this quarantine that ain't going anywhere, folks. Not for a while. Whatever they say about reopenings and so on, reopenings lead to reclosings, clearly. All right, so Muppets, July 31st. If you're a Muppet fan, be there. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm pretty sure.
Disney Plus.
Disney Plus, yes. If you are not a Disney Plus subscriber, maybe the Muppets are going to get you on there if The Mandalorian didn't do it. All right, next up we have... So that is, of course, Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn in the Birds of Prey movie. The news is that Margot Robbie and the writer of Birds of Prey, Christina Hodson, apparently are teaming up to do a new Pirates of the Caribbean movie for Disney. Don't know anything about what character Robbie would play, where it would fit in the overall narrative of the movies that have already been out. And I got this wrong when I posted this up in our little group where we share all our news to prepare for the show. It is not taking place of the one that was previously announced with what is it? Who did we say that was? Oh, that where it's rumored that Karen Gillan will be in a movie that is being worked on by Craig Mazin and from Chernobyl and one of the writers of the Pirates series, Ted Elliott. That's apparently still going on as well. So we could get two different female-led Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Not about that at all. I did see, Rodney, that both of them, and again, we don't know about the other one, the one that it's been teased about, Karen Gillan, but we do know that both of them will be directed by Jerry Bruckheimer.
Produced by,
sorry.
Okay.
Produced by Jerry Bruckheimer, who has been on the Pirates, thing throughout. So that's something. If you like the tone of it and you like the consistency, well, here's something. But I wouldn't be mad about two different pirate movies. I just hope that they don't kind of cancel each other out.
I guess if Bruckheimer is producing both of them, wouldn't it be pretty cool if they were somehow connected in some fashion?
That would be amazing. And when I first started reading about this and I saw the team up with Margot Robbie and Christina Hodgson, I was like, oh, but I had to turn off Birds of Prey. I just didn't love it and I wanted to. But then I saw Christina did Bumblebee, which was amazing.
Yep.
All the snaps.
All right, Greg, what was that brain fry there?
Yeah.
Bruckheimer producing two different ones at the same time. Is this the start of the PCU, the Pirates of the Caribbean connected universe?
Like the MCU?
PCU. No, PCU was a Weird Al movie, sorry.
Was he in that?
Yeah, that was all Weird Al.
Maybe I'm thinking the wrong thing. I think of a Jeremy Piven one.
Well, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be two Batman movies and a Joker movie out, all within a roughly 12 or 14 month span of each other. If I keep coming back to the idea that at such point as like people are confident that they can safely go to the movie theater, people will go out to see Ice Age 11 meets the Madagascar 19 AVP style. They'll go see anything.
You put John Leguizamo and Sacha Baron Cohen together in a movie, I don't care what it is, I'll go see it.
I'll go see that. I would go see that. Yeah, Hudson is a good choice for this. It's, I mean, like everything, it comes down to what they actually do with it. I love the idea of flipping that sort of swaggering. I'll be polite and not use the word I was about to use there. The Johnny Depp's, I'm done with Johnny Depp in general and in Pirates of the Caribbean. And Margot Robbie's got the same chutzpah, if you will.
She's got the same
charisma.
Yep.
Yes, queen. She's got it, and I'm excited to see it. But also, if there's another one with Karen Gillan, ooh, yes.
Yep. I can't wait for both.
Yeah, there we go.
That'd be awesome. All right. Now we move on to, we're starting to get into the, oh, really, news from last week. And the first one is just kind of a sad update. Oh, really? J.K. Rowling was an idiot again. And this one was just, it's like the dumbest thing ever. I'm sure you've seen this. It was all over, it was viral on Twitter and everywhere. She made a glowing, wonderful post about how fantastic Stephen King is, and important, and so on. And he replied with, "Yes, trans women are women. Period. That's it." And she deleted her tweet and blocked him on Twitter. Oh my God! I
mean, we've had this conversation before. I don't think we need to go into any huge depth about it. I just threw this out there as an idea because it's just one more confirmation. I mean, it's saying the quiet parts out loud at this point. And I was reading a little bit about kind of the history between the two of them, and he apparently was one of her first very vocal supporters when Harry Potter was trying to get find a publisher, and he was really a cheerleader and a supporter and a fan of her work, and got her out there. And I mean, there's absolutely no way that he says something like that is a one sentence reply without it being I'm sorry, JK, you've lost your way here.
But let's remember also that she posted this whole thing. It was like multiple things about and blonde, and it's so nice because Stephen King is supporting female women writers and blah 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 blah. And then what precipitated him saying trans women are women was other people saying, all right, Stephen King, for us longtime readers, basically we're the ones who pay you money, let's hear it. Are trans women women? And that was shown out a bunch, and he just said, yeah, trans women are women. And it was like that one word reply, and like she had done this whole like soliloquy about, but he's always supporting. It's like, no. And then she just deleted everything and blocked him.
Yeah, it's amazing how, and we talked about this before, so we'll just reiterate, it's amazing how she can be so completely tone deaf and pick this particular hill to die on. And she's dying on it. I mean, there's no question.
Not just the hill to die on, but Stephen King. He is one of the best things on Twitter. Politics aside, whatever your opinions about his politics are, I happen to agree with them, but that notwithstanding, he is razor sharp and relentlessly brutal to anybody who you'd expect him to be like a 14-year-old teenage girl, not a 65, 70-year-old man from Maine of all places, with his biting, dismissive retorts to anybody who comes at him.
So we can't wait to see what he does on TikTok.
Has he joined TikTok? God, I hope not.
I'm just making that up. I'm just saying.
If you've ever seen him doing live interviews, you probably don't want him on TikTok. Although he's not, since he's gotten completely clean and sober, he's not doing them with a case of beer like he did when they interviewed him on 60 Minutes back in the 80s. They interviewed him. He got in a rowboat, and rowed out in the middle of Keyser Lake, about 17 miles from where I grew up, with a case of beer and whoever was doing the interview back then, 60 Minutes. And that's where he wanted to do the interview, out on the lake drinking beer.
What was this? The 80s?
The early 80s, I think. Yeah.
Oh, sounds like a thing of like, you remember Heavy Metal, the magazine?
I do.
I know, off topic.
Okay, I'm trying to make the connection, but it will take me too long. So, all right, continuing our path of awfulness, or in this case, probable awfulness. So that person, if you don't know, and I didn't because I'm not much of a Twitch watcher, certainly not an esports watcher, is Dr. Disrespect, one of the top, most popular Twitch celebrities in the esports game. And he has probably been suspended, possibly permanently banned from Twitch. And the reason I'm couching all of those with saying possible and so on is because nobody is saying for sure what happened to him. He is not on Twitch. That is for sure. In response to people asking questions, Twitch has put out a statement saying that they take violations of their policies very seriously and enact bans when these things are needed. Literally did not say anything specific about Dr. Disrespect or anything or anybody. But the weird thing is that it comes right after Twitch made an announcement about how they were doing a lot of internal investigations about sexual harassment among Twitch celebrities against like other celebrities on Twitch, and people using the platform essentially to be horrible people. Nobody will say, first off, whether he's even been banned or whether he just quit. Probably he's been banned, but there's just no word out there. There was one person who was a reporter on the esports scene or an insider who says he knows what it was, but it's awful enough that it's nothing that he feels he would ever say without an official statement coming from either side. And again, take that for what it is. That's a third party, making a comment on it. But he's gone. He signed a deal, an exclusivity deal with Twitch in March to be like one of their top esports streamers, and that lasted 3 months. So if you're a fan of Dr. Disrespect, if you follow this sort of stuff, well, he's gone.
Bye.
And yes, and that's very much a bye. By the way, his real name is Herschel Guy, is his nickname, Beam the Fourth, which is quite a name.
Not familiar with him. That's not my genre either. I mean, Twitch has a shall we say inconsistent record with enforcing banning people for language, stunts, sexual misconduct, etc.
It also has a record of banning people, especially in the past year to 2 years, of a lot of femme and femme presenting people who were doing their workout stuff, and then it's like, oh no, we can see the slightest bit of cleavage in your bra. You're doing something sexual. Gone. Streamers who are doing, they're literal makers, and they're doing something, but it's like, oh no, we can see this much of your neck. I don't know if you can see me right now, but I'm just
yes, you're on the screen. Yeah.
Okay, 3 inches, and it's like, oh no, too much woman, too much skin, too much femme, too much trans, bi. And so, I mean, I think Twitch, if this is what they're doing right now and they're really cleaning up, I think they still have a lot to do to bring back, femme and femme presenting people that are just being themselves.
Well, what I was thinking is I'd be curious how much this is. I mean, we're hopefully starting to see a bit of a change with prominent social media platforms. Twitter, I mean, Twitter's always going to be Twitter, but they've shown something vaguely resembling a little bit of spine with blocking people, with labeling certain orange people's tweets as being deliberately misleading or deliberately inciting violence. We're seeing, I don't know if any of you guys, I'm sure, are familiar with this, but major corporations are not advertising with Facebook, are pulling huge ad budgets from Facebook as a means of leverage to get Facebook to clean up their act a little bit. Again, Facebook is Facebook, who knows, but if Microsoft, Coke, Adidas, several, those are just the first couple I can think of offhand, pull $300 or $400 million combined worth of ad budget from Facebook, maybe hopefully that'll clean it up. I'm just spitballing here, but maybe Twitch is trying to like, oh, the winds of change are a blowing. Maybe it's time to to get on board.
Well, on that point, the next couple of things that we're bringing up are all related, and so this is kind of a trigger warning, although we're not going to get into any details about any of this stuff because most of it's not out there. They're all related to sexual misconduct, assault, harassment, whatever, allegations against various people in various industries, and they're coming out of the woodwork. People who have been holding this information in, apparently, are no longer afraid to get this out there. And the first one is, and I'm going to have to explain why I picked this image, that is, of course, from Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And my thinking is this is an example of what Ubisoft would like us to think it's doing to people who do sexual harassment within its company. The news is that Ubisoft has started investigations for multiple allegations of sexual misconduct by their own employees, placed executives on leave. It's amazing how many people have come out and started just letting all the information about how they've been treated within, and it's not just Ubisoft, within a number of companies within the game industry, and as we'll find out later on, all kinds of industries. But in this case, two executives placed on leave are Tommy Francois and Maxime Belland, vice presidents in a division that overseed worldwide development of the various games, like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, like Far Cry. Ubisoft makes a lot of really big games, really popular games.
And there's also Ubi Sports, which I've had female friends, women friends work for,
Yep.
who left over the course of the years because of these exact such things.
And just speaking of Assassin's Creed, the creative director of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Ashraf Ismail, stepped down from his role in the game because, or after, he hasn't said specifically they're connected to it, allegations of sexual misconduct with fans. Sexual misconduct is awful everywhere. But reaching out to your fan community to do stuff like that, it's horrible. So, fingers crossed that this is actually really the start of a sea change. Even if it's just the beginning, and there's always going to be ups and downs and forward and back movement and so on, but at least it seems like Greg said, that somebody's getting kicked in the ass here.
I hope so. You see all these things with and if you're someone like me who's been a writer and a cosplayer and a cosmaker and a hostess and been doing these things for so long, you get to know certain people and you work for them at different cons. I'm not talking about Nerd Caliber, above the board, always amazing.
Thank you.
But you work for different places, and you work for people that always say they're in their bio on Twitter is, my tweets don't reflect the company I work for. And that's this weird, gross disclaimer where I've had the benefit of working for some amazing women at different places, but I have stepped away, I'll just say personally, and I'm not going to get into it, I've stepped away from different things where things have been asked in the past. And, I know I'm not the only one. I was probably older and smarter. I was just like, yeah, no, this doesn't seem cool. But, people are like, I work for Ubisoft. I work for Dark Horse. I know we're going to get to that. I work for this. I work for that. And it's so easy to be like, we'd love to have you at the booth. Send us pictures in a bikini or not. And that's just the absolute least. But this is what we're talking about. People using their influence with fans, you never know who you're talking to. You could be talking to a 12 or 9-year-old girl, and if someone has that inclination to do that, get them gone.
Absolutely. So, go ahead, Greg.
No, I nothing to say there. Just whatever the just the idea of that just makes my skin crawl.
Right?
Exactly. So moving on to the next area where this is a thing, and this this hurts me personally because I love the show so much. That is Cass Anvar, the actor who plays Alex, the pilot of the Rocinante, on the show The Expanse. And the production company Alcon Entertainment has announced that they are starting an investigation looking into multiple accounts of sexual misconduct by him against people involved with the show and the production company. And so I hate to say, I hate to be the person who would look at somebody and go, okay, well, I get that. We interviewed him along with a guy who plays, oh crap, I just completely forgot.
We interviewed all of them.
Well, yeah, that's true.
We did the line interview.
Exactly. But they did them two at a time, and so I interviewed Stephen Strait and Dominique Tipper in one interview, and then I interviewed Cass Anvar, and it's killing me. It's killing me, the tough guy.
I know what you mean. I picture his face. Anyway, go
yeah.
on.
In a second interview, and for some reason that never made it up, I'm assuming there was some sort of issue with the sound or something like that. But that interview was not up on our YouTube. But I distinctly got the impression, interviewing Anvar, that he was too slick. That he was a face. That whatever he was putting on was not an actor's face, it was a personality face. All actors have to, put on their game face when they're doing stuff like that. But you can tell when they're basically just being the smoothest version of themselves, or when they're being fake. And Anvar was just like, okay, so smooth you could slide, whatever, right?
Slip and slide.
Yep. Yeah, it was a slip and slide, it seemed like. And so this...
sorry, go ahead. I thought you were done.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I kind of felt bad. It's not the right way to put it. When I saw this the other night and posted this on our roundup spot, I'm like, Rodney and I are both huge fans of the series. Me more so of the books. Rodney a little more so of the series, but huge fan of the series nevertheless. And it sucks as a fan when you find out that a show that you really like, that seems like it's firing on all cylinders, gets has such a scumbag working in their midst.
We'll give him alleged scumbag at this point.
Alleged scumbag. There we go. To their credit, Daniel Abraham, who's one of the original authors and one of the showrunners, he actually brought these allegations to the studio, which apparently is hiring an independent firm to investigate. So credit to him. He's heaped a lot of praise on the women who came forward publicly, or privately actually, for having the bravery to speak up and hopefully get some action taken.
That's exactly what he said. He said, thank you for all of you who've been brave enough to come forward. We will get to the bottom of this, and I stake my reputation on it. So.
And the thing that really hit me, and I know, speaking to the other two folks on the call with me here, the pattern of behavior is something that all three of us have seen, because we've worked in the convention scene for a long time. We've talked about this. We have friends who've experienced it. I'm a celebrity. I'm going to go to a convention and groom young women. And it's very predatory, and it's very heavy on the power dynamic, starstruckness of things. I've seen it in person. I know you guys have both seen it, experienced it, have friends, colleagues, etc. that have seen and experienced it.
I started when I was 17.
Yeah.
Oof.
So, I mean...
And I'll be done.
I was just going to say, that I think to me is what, when I read that, having seen it so much and talked about it on this show with other people, and talked about it with friends, and talked about it with Gogo when we've had a glass of wine together, it's what makes the whole thing ring so true, and makes it so, deplorable. Sorry, Gogo, what were you about to say?
No, that's it. That was it. No, that's all I want to say, actually.
So, hello, Doppelganger on Twitch. Welcome to the show. One of the things that, I mean, and whoever is any of his potential victims, alleged victims, that's awful. The fact that Dominique Tipper closed out her Twitter account and then made a post about supporting the investigation through somebody else's Twitter account, passed that information along from her, makes me worried that she was one of his targets, alleged targets.
Say alleged, and it's so hard because it's like, oh, but we have to.
Well, we do have to say alleged until something comes out about this. I would like to say, though, if it does happen that he is, problematic like this and gets booted from the show, recast him. Don't cut him out. I'm assuming he's still important for the remainder of the books. Don't tell me if he's not, because I don't want that spoiled. But recast him. I'm sick of the idea that, you can't just put somebody else in that role and we'll believe it. Of course we'll believe it.
On Viv.
Hmm?
On Viv.
Odd Viv. Batwoman.
Darren, I Dream of Jeannie.
Right. Oh my God. Yes.
No, granted, sometimes it's not the best recasting.
I'm sorry, it's so old. I watched reruns when I was a kid, and I was just like, I didn't even notice. It was just like, they're just that guy.
It's like, oh, that guy who doesn't look anything like that last guy, but I'll buy it.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter. Picked up where it left off.
Yep. So we'll find out where this goes. We'll keep you up to date, and on a personal, completely selfish level, I hope it doesn't affect upcoming season of The Expanse, because I would love that show. And guess what? It's not the only industry this past week.
This is a heavy show, y'all.
It's a heavy show.
Take a break, walk around the room, get yourself...
Exactly. Get a drink, have something to drink. So that image...
Something better than water, but it's just water.
Exactly. This is just basically like...
Poor thinking on my part.
Crystal Light. Although I really should have had a beer. So the image that popped up there is, of course, Jessica Jones and Kilgrave. It's from the Netflix show, but the reason it's up there is that we're talking about the comics industry now, folks. And you can't get a better example of some manipulative sexual assaulter than the Purple Man, than Kilgrave.
Right, which is another thing where I could not finish, even though major fan of all the things. And, of course, could not finish.
Believe me,
it was too real.
Absolutely, 100% understand. After the first episode, I posted on Facebook, like, look, folks, if you want to watch this, be aware that this is probably the worst sexual assault trigger warning I think I've ever had to put out there.
Hard pass.
It's brutal. But anyway, apparently, Kilgrave, while he is a fictional character, there's a lot of people actually in the comics industry that in the last few weeks have been hit with allegations of sexual misconduct and assault. The most recent one, and I haven't even heard about this, and it was a couple of weeks ago, was Warren Ellis, one of my absolute favorite comic book writers. Multiple allegations of sexual misconduct, including pressure that various people owed him sexual relationships. He has said in a post that he has made, quote, mistakes. Apparently he's been booted off of the current ongoing Dark Knight's Death Metal, the Legends of the Dark Knight stories, that he had already finished and replaced it with a different one. So same week, former Dark Horse editor Brendan Wright, I think we actually talked about that.
I remember him from back in my days doing Dark Horse promos.
Really? Hopefully, personally, he wasn't like that to you. Moving on. Okay. So Charles Brownstein. Actually, this is now we're going forward in time, so we're coming closer to now. Executive director of the comic book Legal Defense Fund resigned. Allegations he assaulted artist Taki Sorna in 2006. June 23rd, so just last week, Jason Latour, the co-creator of Spider-Gwen, accused of harassment by artist and designer Lauren Tracy. Spider-Gwen co-creator Robbie Rodriguez also implicated in the allegations. This is just awful. Dark Horse Comics and Mike Mignola cut ties with editor and frequent co-writer Scott Alley after a statement by editor Shauna Gore alleging years of abuse. John Arcudi, another frequent Mignola collaborator, alleged he had told the artist about the full extent of Alley's character in 2017, but continued working with him anyway. This is just unbelievable, but in one small way, wonderful that this tidal wave has opened up.
Yep. Keep it going. Keep it going. Also, I just want to say, because we have been talking about J.K. Rowling and everything that entails for all her fans and for trans folk and NBs and so many marginalized people that found something in her stories. For everyone who loves and loved Spider-Gwen, this is a thing, and it's really up to y'all to again find the like we've been talking about with Harry Potter stuff. You don't have to cancel Spider-Gwen, but if you no longer feel comfortable, that's fine too. And it just sucks. It proofing sucks. So I just want to say a moment of that and carry on.
Yeah. So, and on that point, they co-created Spider-Gwen, but Spider-Gwen has been written by many, many, many other people.
Right.
And so it's a little bit different than the whole Harry Potter series and Rowling.
It absolutely is.
Yeah. But again, like you said, if for some reason that has, ruined Spider-Gwen for you, that's your call. That's perfectly understandable. Or Warren Ellis stuff for me. I mean, I'm not sure that I'm going to read a Warren Ellis book again with the same feelings, and that's a shame.
Yeah. So Gogo and I have talked about this because we're both big fans of Harry Potter. We're both Harry Potter cosplayers. At least in the Harry Potter world, the fans have kind of taken over, and it's become obviously not from the creation side of things, unless you're into fanfic, of which there's a ton, but Harry Potter, at least the fans have really kind of taken over, and there's a whole universe unto itself, and it's relatively easy to I don't want to say write her out of her own story series at this point.
But how great were the memes this week with Stephen King, where people were like, "Oh, I didn't know that Stephen King wrote all the Harry Potter novels. It makes sense now." And it was like, we want to let everyone that these stories mattered to be able to still hold on to them, especially if they're marginalized, if they're queer, if they're trans, if they're NB, So yeah, whatever, everything Greg said.
Yeah, it's a little harder with something like, to use Roddy's example, Warren Ellis. It's a big body of stuff, but he's a lot harder to separate the person from the material at this point. I mean, I remember, God, it wasn't, I don't know, 2-3 years ago. It seems like 2 decades at this point, when. Why am I blanking on his name? Kaiser Soze.
Spacey.
Oh God,
Kevin
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 Spacey.
Spacey.
When everything about Kevin Spacey came out, there was a huge debate about fantastic actor, incredible body of work. Can you separate the art from the artist? And for a lot of people, yes. For a lot of people, f no. um, so, as we often like to say around here, your mileage may vary.
exactly.
Yep.
My
Yep. Keep it going, folks. Please keep reporting these people. Keep the movement going. Oh my God, my red light went out. Well, my background is now just completely blue.
I like it. It's good.
Oh, it's nice. Yeah. So yes, please, and please, I pray that those companies who are doing their own investigations, or like Alcon launching outside investigations, who have immediately put people on leave or fired them or accepted the resignations, keep doing that. Don't make this just a little blip of what seems like responsibility. Actually make it corporate responsibility. Get these people out of there.
And even if you're like looking at stuff and being like, oh, these corporate places have brought in like, Ubisoft and all that. Oh, they brought in outside investigators. That means they're spending big money to do what would otherwise be like an outside audit. And that means they're bringing in a third party, and they are spending the money. And like, this is like, it's the opposite of an internal investigation, which is what we hear about cops. When it's like, oh, this cop killed someone. Well, there was an internal investigation, and it said that he didn't do anything. No. This is good. We want them to spend the big money. So when you see that, celebrate it, and let's keep that going. Keep it going. And we at Nerd Caliber support you and everyone who's coming forth with all these things.
Yeah. And we also support you if you're still not comfortable with making a public statement and making any waves wherever you work. That is a perfectly valid reaction still to anything horrible that might happen to you.
Correct.
So, but now we're moving on to the next thing, where it looks like, oh my God, stuff might actually be like working and getting better. Maybe. And I'm sure you've all seen that, folks. That is the artist's rendition of what Splash Mountain might look like after Disney has finished completely revamping it, so it's no longer inspired by the unbelievably racist movie Song of the South.
Oh, bye.
And will be in fact inspired by and based on The Princess and the Frog, Disney's first story with an African American princess. And yay for Disney somehow getting woke. That's just fantastic. And then on top of all of that, there have been so many other entertainment companies that in the last couple of weeks have come out with really surprising announcements, like The Simpsons, the Cleveland Show, animated shows like that have...
Big Mouth.
I'm sorry?
Big Mouth.
Big Mouth.
Yep.
Oh, Big Mouth. I completely forgot about Big Mouth. Yeah. Have made a commitment that characters of color going forward will be voiced by actors of color. And that has absolutely not been a thing on The Simpsons. Apparently not a thing on the Cleveland Show, which is about a family of African Americans.
Good God.
And apparently a Big Mouth, which I didn't realize that, what's her name?
Big Mouth and BoJack Horseman.
Jenny Slate.
Jenny Slate,
Jenny
but plays
Slate
the character.
one of the main characters.
I can't remember the main character's name, but
I'm blanking on it as well. And I've watched the series twice.
Right. Jenny Slate plays a character that she took on because she was comfortable, and she actually has said she talked herself into the comfortability because it was a mixed race character where the mom was white Jewish and she's Jewish, but the character presents completely as black and looks black.
Yep.
And so she's stepped back and said, I should have never done this. I actually had to argue it with myself, but I'm stepping back and I apologize.
And that's wonderful. If more actors did that, I mean, Hank Azaria did that with voicing Apu, but only after there was enough hue and cry about that problematic casting that he decided to do it himself before The Simpsons ever made a. In fact, The Simpsons made it pretty clear that they thought it was a Tempest in a Teapot in an episode around all of that, which was one of the cringiest episodes The Simpsons ever made.
It's very cringy. Yeah, I mean, that's in its own weird way, for all that The Simpsons has been very progressive on a lot of things and certainly ahead of its time on a lot of things. Yeah, the fact that, not only did Hank Azaria continue to voice Apu for as long as he did, that he was dismissive of people saying, stop. It's that much better than Mickey Rooney in, wow, I'm having another senior moment here tonight. What the hell movie am I thinking of? Anyway, doesn't matter. Incredibly racist, incredibly bad racial stereotype.
Just to let you, Mickey Rooney played a Japanese person, the very Irish white Mickey Rooney, with the fake epicanthic folds and everything.
In any event, the fact that they are, the guy who voices Carl is white. He said he's going to stop doing that. So the fact that they are in, maybe not the vanguard, but pretty close to it, is a pretty seismic change. I gotta say, it's funny when Ronnie, when you said Disney is reimagining Splash Mountain, the thought that went through my head was, would it be more appropriate to say they're retconning Splash Mountain?
I didn't even know. I've never been on Splash Mountain, so I didn't even know that it was Song of the South. So when I started seeing this, and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, that was bad, like, decades ago. How is that still a thing? And then I started following, like, posts and things, and people are like, well, I want my kids to be able to go so they can learn the history, and it's like, no. Same thing as like the Confederate statues. No. Also, literally, you can Google this shit and you can listen to it and you can see it. So yeah, make it Tiana. Just please, keep her a princess and a human and not a frog.
The whole time.
Because I do feel like that was a lot of people's complaints with, like, we get our first African American black princess. Oh, she spends most of her movie as a frog. Come on.
Well, they have said that this is going to be a completely new, based on a new story around Princess and the Frog. So I'm assuming it's taking place after the occurrences of the movie.
Frogness?
After the frogness, yes. After the frogness wears off. But they've also said that apparently they've got all of the original voice actors from the movie to come back and do whatever voice work needs to be done for the animatronics and so on in the ride.
Great.
Great.
So
interesting that you brought that aspect up. Have both of you seen the Pixar short Out?
I don't think so.
What movie was it connected with?
I don't think it was. Frequently, Pixar shorts lead, or they're like the preview for Toy Story or Brave or whatever. These have all been. There's a whole bunch of genuinely like emotional gut punch Pixar shorts. They've got a division that's working for Disney Plus that they're giving up and coming artists like free reign to do like a 7 to 10 minute short. So you've got a budget, you've got Disney Plus. They did a short called Out, and it was the first explicitly gay character in any Disney property. Not coded, not maybe Josh Gad is a little gay-ish, none of that. explicitly
see
explicitly
gayness
gay.
and Valkyrie in that last Thor, where like, didn't you realize she was bisexual? How?
So
They
anyway,
didn't
the point behind that
sexualize her.
was, so this is great, and they're absolutely rightfully so. It's a great story. It's very emotional. It tells a genuine story in a lot of ways, but the character who's trying to come out to his parents and having a hard time spends 2/3 of this short as a dog. It's the same sort of thing. You can't quite go all the way. You've got to make the African American character a frog. You've got to make the gay character a dog.
No,
It's so
no,
two steps forward, one step sideways.
no, you don't. You don't. You
Yeah,
don't.
well, I mean, it is a very unsubtle transformation metaphor in both cases. So now, granted, they may have dragged it out way too long, or maybe the choice of what they're transforming from is bad, but from a narrative standpoint, I mean, it makes sense
Sure.
when you're doing essentially a transformation story.
Yep.
But let's and I said this in our group. I really hope that this is the new normal, and in almost everything we've talked about in these horrible occurrences. I hope it's the new normal that people feel they can speak up when they're being harassed or abused. I hope it's the new normal that companies respond to them quickly. And I got to give this again to Alcon Entertainment. They responded super quickly to the accusations about Cass Anvar, whereas it took Ubisoft days to even announce that they were looking into these allegations or that they had happened. But I hope that it's the new normal that people of color get cast in roles where the character is of color. I mean, that's just, come on, folks. But that's almost our show. We're going to wrap it up with, since this is the last day of Pride Month, as Greg mentioned, and is displaying with his beautiful, beautiful head of hair. We have, in every show that we've had this month, we've had ending the show with any recollections that anybody has that's here on the show of something, whether it's in popular culture or nerd culture or even something that happened in their life, where it informed their view of LGBTQ plus issues. And quickly, if we can, but if anybody has a story like that for this last one of the Pride Month, and Gogo, I know what you're going to say, so we'll give you the last word, because I want to have you.
Shoot. I don't know what I forget what I was going to say.
So I'll dive in. Two very quick things. So last couple of weeks we've talked about some books with gay and queer characters that are fantastic books with great representation. From the silver screen, or from the small screen rather, one of my favorite series, Torchwood.
Yes.
Jack
My
Harkness.
God, yes.
Complicated, messy.
The real Captain Jack, not that one with the braids and
real
the
Captain Jack.
rum.
Yes,
Exactly.
no, Captain Jack. Oh,
Beautiful man to look at. The
I
relationship
love
with
the
Yanto is
husband, I have to say.
complex. It's messy. It's what real life is. And as someone who's done a couple of conventions with John Barrowman, who may be the single most entertaining human being on the planet,
Endorsed.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're familiar, great. If you're not, if you want a good watch, it's basically, if you're not familiar with it, it's a crazy, interesting Doctor Who spin-off with queer characters, with pterodactyls flying around caves.
If you're like, Doctor Who's a little too fluffy sci-fi for me, go to Torchwood.
Yep.
Things get
It'd be good.
freaking dark.
And if John Barrowman doesn't sell it for you, Burn Gorman, one of the very first roles everybody's ever seen him in. Burn Gorman is a regular in that show, and he is outstanding.
It's so good. And I say that as a super, super, super passionate Whovian, like love everything about it, but also do love my dark side. I'm sorry, I derailed this.
So, Greg,
Okay.
number 2?
So, number 2, very briefly, I've had the privilege of marching in the Boston Pride Parade for the last several years as part of a huge, well, moderately huge, nominally Star Wars oriented group with what you would expect from Star Wars people marching in a Pride Parade. It is the most glorious, loving, friendly, warm environment. Boston in July is also or June is very warm as well. I'm still picking glitter out of my arm hair from last year. Literally a year ago, I still occasionally find it laying around. Hopefully next year we will be post-virus, or sufficiently so that a crowd like that is feasible again. If you have the opportunity, go. If you have the opportunity, march. It's important. It's meaningful, and people appreciate it. And the number of kids that I gave hugs to was like, I'm not a dad. I'm getting choked up just thinking about this. Like gay kids who've been disowned by their families just for being gay, and just being able to give somebody a hug and have that little bit of human contact is incredibly powerful.
Here and here. So mine is it's a recommendation for something that aired very recently, and it's also kind of a confession about how I'm still not as far along as I think I'd like to be. So I've had gay friends, and I've been absolutely a ally and a promoter of gay rights, LGBTQ plus rights for decades. But I have generally shied away from any representation of gay love in any entertainment if it's something that I know is the primary focus of the entertainment. And it's just like, all right, well, that's fine. I'm 100% for you guys, but I don't want to see two guys going at it. And I particularly in anime, because that's a big thing in anime. For whatever reason, Japan has been accepting in its, certainly its animated entertainment of gay culture for a long time. But there's an anime from this last season called Given, and it's lowercase g, it's Given, and it's a wonderful story about a band, a high school kid who's a guitarist in a relatively recent pickup band, who winds up teaching a transfer student into the high school how to play guitar, because this kid's walking around with this fantastic guitar that he knows nothing about. And the two of them, and the main character, as far as he knows, is straight, but falls madly in love with the transfer student. And it is one of the best love stories put out in anime in years. And I'm watching this and I'm going, all right, my interest in this love story way transcends any uncomfortable feelings I may still have for being a 60-year-old cis white male redneck from Maine. That I'm just like, okay, smack him, give him the kiss, go for it, do it, rock and roll, kids. And one, it's a great anime, go watch it, and two, I'm so glad that it moved me past that sort of last bit of discomfort that I have with the whole acceptance of actual display of love within the gay community. So that's mine.
That's cool, Rodney. I know that for so many people that it's just, well, I don't know how to accept something I haven't really seen before. But again, it's like, if you can accept, and you're used to a man and a woman, cisgender, giving each other a kiss, then you should be accepting. But I know for so many people, like my parents included, who have so many gay friends, it's still weird. They're like, oh, they were kissing, hee. It's like, no, it's not a hee hee hee. That's just normal. So I hear you completely. What I want to say, which I'm trying to remember what I said to Rodney before, but I think I remember now.
Okay.
But I have a thing. Because of doing this wonderful live stream, I did get turned on, and I actually did get the DC streaming service, so I could get
Cool.
some of the shows. And my family and I have been absolutely living for the Harley Quinn show.
Yes.
We just can only watch it in small bursts because the actress, who you may know from The Big Bang Theory, who's playing Harley, she screams a lot. So if you have a thing for like high voices like I do, it's like you watch 2 episodes and you're like, I need something to simmer down now. But anyway, just the I'm just gonna say the pansexuality that just exists in that show that's just how it is. Just how it is. It is beautiful and wonderful and not questioned. And even though it's high comedy and there's so much lampooning, and if you don't know what lampooning is, look it up. It's a thing. But it's just there, and it's so comfortable, and it makes me comfortable watching it. But also, I do remember the thing I was saying to Rodney before this, which is for so many of us who are queer, this June wasn't really about us. The most important thing was Black Lives Matter and Black Trans Lives Matter, and also there just weren't the Pride festivals that we're used to having. So a lot of us put our big, rainbow hats on, and, we're like, we got this. Yes, like Greg. So many of us have said this isn't Pride Month, it's Wrath Month. But I have also seen that Pride Month is always. And if you're angry, it's Gay Wrath Month. Take that anger, go forward with it, and protect our queer brothers and sisters and NBs. Trans lives matter.
Exactly. And as Mr. Nancy says, angry gets shit done.
Work.
So, thank you all for joining us. Wonderful commentary in the chats. And thank you very much for being with us for this extra long time.
Oh my God, we went that long? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. And I would like to point out to you that we are about to, we actually have just opened up the applications for our July qualifier for the Nerd Caliber and Covenator Summer Cosplay Contest Series. So please go, if you are interested in being a participant in an online costume contest with cash prizes, please go to nerdcaliber.com and click on the link there. It'll take you to all the information. It'll take you to the Google form to register and all of that good stuff. And the finals, if you want to watch, are going to be Saturday, July 25th at 6 p.m. And we had a lot of fun this last Sunday.
It was really good. It was so much fun.
It was a lot of fun. And to tell you the level of the kind of quality that people are bringing to this, the judges looked at the photos in advance. They had all the information. And I think it still took you guys maybe 20 minutes to deliberate.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's
keeping a timer, but we literally were going through every specific detail because it was that hard.
Yes, there were some really amazing.
So good. So we literally were splitting hairs with looking at their costume from the top to bottom.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely understood, because they really blew my mind. They were really, really top quality. So for me, Rodney Brown, editor-in-chief of Nerd Caliber, for the Rainbow Warrior.
You know all, Greg Wonderlama. Have a good one.
And for the fantastic hat-wearing.
I am Gogo Incognito. I'll see y'all soon.
We'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Stay safe. Wear your mask. Wash your hands. Keep protesting. Bye-bye.